Wow, this room filled up pretty quickly. You know, when they ask you to write a bio about yourself and you write it down and you're thinking, man, I really like me. And then when someone has to say it before you stand up, you're like, they must think I'm a jerk that I wrote all that stuff about myself. So what I'm hoping is that you will look at my biography in context just so that you have a little working knowledge about me. But don't judge me by it. I'm not as good as the bio says I am, nor as I'm as bad as it might indicate that I am. I'm probably somewhere in between. I don't know what version of my personality will come out in this speech. It might look like I have a multiple personality disorder during certain parts of this. So I would say, if it seems that I hop around and do some different things, just go with me. I officially began my teaching career in 1995 at VC Rain High School, and you could say that that's when my teaching career began, but my grandmother would say that I was an educator long before that. See, I dragged the neighborhood kids into the backyard when I was about 9 or 10, and I converted the backyard and the side of the house to a school. I taught all the kids. I taught them stuff that I didn't even know. Like, I just wanted to be a teacher so bad it came out in everything I did. I was just bleeding teacher. So you might hear me say some academic stuff and sound like an educator. I began my first speaking engagements when I was in the second grade. My teacher thought that I had a nice tone to my voice, and so she tried to see if I could memorize excerpts of Dr. Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. And so because I had a good memory and my voice had a nice tone, she said, oh my goodness, you could be Dr. Martin Luther King. And so then they started carting me all around parts of Montgomery and central Alabama. And I have my greatest chauffeur to thank, my mother, Reverend Janice Cooper. If you will, please stand, Mom, and give them a wave. She made the trek all the way from North Carolina to come and support me and be here today because she knew that I'd be as nervous as mud, and it's true. So that's you might hear me say some speaker stuff. Well, not only is my mother a wonderfully strong, talented, and gifted woman, she's also a minister. So I'm a preacher's kid. And on top of that, my grandfather was a minister, so I'm a grandson's preacher's kid. And my great-grandfather was a minister, so I'm a preacher's kid over and over and over again. So you might hear me say some things that sound pretty preachery. As a matter of fact, sometimes I just say good morning to people, and they say, hallelujah. Like, they're like, you just sound like you're preaching everything you say. So, I don't know. But I did come to tell you something today, not just to ramble. AVID has gathered us here this week, and it's put a charge before us. And that charge is actually to address today's learners who will become tomorrow's leaders. Some of our tomorrow's leaders are sitting right here on the front row. Student volunteers, would you please stand? Just stand and let them give you a hand. So we have leaders amongst us right now. But what I've come to tell you this afternoon is that for today's learners and tomorrow's leaders, AVID has sounded the alarm. I know it's cheesy, but that's who I am. AVID has sounded the alarm for students. It has sounded the alarm on learned helplessness, self-limiting behavior, and self-fulfilling prophecy. You know, we have students who come into our schools and they don't know why they can't do something. They may not even have any experience with it. They just know that they are conditioned against it. And they will do anything to cover that up. You've seen them in your classrooms. You've tried to pull the potential out of them, and you're like, oh my goodness, why don't you see what I see? Well, I had this problem with swimming. I don't have a particularly negative relationship with water. For the most part, it nourishes me and cleans me, and no reason for me to be afraid of what water does, personally. But I grew up being afraid to swim. And between you, me, and the lamppost, I still don't know how to swim. I tell my friends that black people are born with an innate fear of water and dogs. And so that really you can't blame me for fearing swimming. It's just part of my DNA. And I'm sure there's some science teachers in here that are like, that ain't a part of your DNA. Oh. Well, I think it is. But AVID's going to help us address some of this learned helplessness. It's going to teach us to draw out of students and have them draw out of themselves their best qualities, their strengths, accentuating their strengths, bolstering their weaknesses, and finding a good network of people who can help them move to the next level. That's one of the things AVID's going to do for our students. But here's the problem. When learned helplessness is internalized, students start defining themselves by what they can't do. When students start defining themselves by their limitations, they seal the deal for themselves in that area. It's as if they will it into existence. They believe so much that they can't do it that what essentially happens is that they make it true. When I moved to Nashville, I loaded up the truck and I moved to Nashville with a guitar and a dream. I don't need to tell you that me writing and performing country music would be a challenge, right? I still haven't gotten a record deal. Darius Rucker's flown into town, got a Hootie and the Blowfish, got a record deal, and I'm still like, hey, what about Mac? But that self-fulfilling prophecy, we don't want that to happen to our students. This week, AVID is going to give us the tools to extend and add to our toolkit ways to help our students achieve their potential. But this is not only an alarm for the students, it is an alarm for educators as well. AVID has sounded the alarm on burnout, mediocrity, and just plain wore out. See, within the first 5 years, nearly half of all teachers quit. This is according to the National Center for Education Statistics. Budget shortfalls, stricter standards, and nominal support make education an undesirable field for recent college graduates who may have college debt and don't see how this could pay for it. So some of you are in that range. And I don't know you personally, but I don't want you to burn out if this is what you're meant to do. AVID has got things in place that can help to protect you during that time of burnout. It's called your AVID Site Team. You're going to put together strategies and scaffolding within your school and across your district that will give you support that you need to not burn out during that time. Now, some of us are in that 7 to 12 year stage where we might be prone to some mediocrity. We're still good, but we're sort of just being good on our natural talents. We're not refining what we do. So those who don't burn out often shift into preservation mode because too much lies outside of our control. A constantly high level of alertness is required. This makes teaching a very stressful job. According to Dr. Martin Haberman of the University of Wisconsin at Milwaukee, in a study he said, he defined this condition as, it's when the teachers remain as a paid employee, but they stop functioning as professionals. They go through the motions of teaching with no emotional commitment to the task at hand or any sense of efficacy. You may ask, what's AVID going to do for mediocre teachers, Miguel? Well, here it is. It's going to reinvigorate your teaching strategies with Cornell Notes. How many of y'all know about Cornell Notes? Well, if you don't know, when you get Cornell Notes, you're going to, okay, this is a piece of the puzzle, but that's not all. You're going to do some Socratic seminars. How many know about Socratic seminars? All right, so that's going to add another layer for you. What about philosophical chairs? How many of you know about philosophical chairs? All right, very good. A few less. Okay, so we're going to work to invigorate the mediocre teacher's approach, your package, your toolkit, if you will. And then there's that group of us that we're just wore out. We may have been teaching for 15 or more years, and we just kind of want to laminate ourselves on one of those machines and hang up in front of the room and just, can you please teach for me today? I can't do it. So for the wore out teacher, See, without an active and purposeful attempt to stay with it, teachers get worn out. This leads to low-level instruction, lecture-driven methods, and a failure to teach the whole child. Education scientist Sugata Mitra, from his Hole in the Wall series, he says, a teacher who can be replaced by a machine should be. But for today's learners and tomorrow's leaders, this isn't a problem that falls squarely on the shoulders of teachers. Parents and families, the alarm sounds for you too. AVID has sounded the alarm on community involvement and activism, on absence from the schoolyard, and on indifference to the legacy we leave the posterity. Parents and communities, it isn't enough for you just to pay your taxes and vote for the occasional election. The civic duty goes beyond the big ticket items. There are obvious needs in the community that we can't expect government to provide. We need all hands on deck to meet the needs of our community. So AVID, through the AVID elective class, through the AVID site team, you build community service projects and things that invest your students and your parents in the community that surround them, because that is a part of developing the whole child. AVID has sounded the alarm on absences from the schoolyard. Schools need parental and familial support in order to maximize student achievement and success. Schools can do an adequate job without you, parents, but we can do an extraordinary job with you. Even if you don't think you have anything to contribute, your active presence alone speaks volumes about what your child's education means to you. For parents and community, AVID has also sounded the alarm on indifference to the legacy that we leave the posterity. Education isn't just for now. It's not just for your kids. It's for all children and the future of our society. The society that we're shaping now will be inherited by our offspring. Not mine, I don't have any, but somebody has offspring that will inherit what we shape. What we leave them will tell what we think of them and how we value them. Funny thing about humility is, once you realize you have it, it's gone. But that's exactly how we must approach our educational legacy, with a certain degree of humility and respect for those who will inherit it. Elected officials, the alarm has been sounded for you too. District leaders, you're here too. AVID has sounded the alarm for you as well. But I won't get into your notice here. There isn't enough time for this snappy veteran to lay out your charge. I don't have enough time. But your petty politics, passing the buck, and institutionalized discrimination must stop. Yeah, it must stop. You must truly embrace the idea that all students can achieve and stop allowing low expectations for some to put a ceiling on the sky's limit. Oh yes, AVID has sounded the alarm. Are you getting up yet? From beds and cots and sleeping bags and hammocks, get up. From long night slumbers and naps and stupors, arise. Students, reach down deep and find your voice. Think, speak, and do for yourselves, your families, your communities, and your futures. There's an ever-flowing river of potential in you that is waiting to erupt and bring forth new ideas, new opportunities, and new horizons. Answer the call, students. Teachers, rediscover your passion, that fire that burned so brightly in you when you first stepped into the classroom. You wanted to change the world and make a difference, but your fire's been snuffed out at times by winds of change that blow in the educational machine. But you can still make a difference, and you do make a difference every time you inspire another teacher or student to awaken his or her indomitable human spirit. Parents and families, your schools and communities need your wisdom and guidance. You have a wealth of experience and perspective to share. Don't let the crunch of your 9 to 5 be the only contribution you make. You have more to offer than you know, and we need you more than we're willing to admit. Elected officials and district leaders, use your power, position, and influence to make a positive difference in our school communities. Don't allow the political climate to shape your values. Let your values shape the political climate. Thank you. We need you to be our voices in the hallowed halls of school boards, state chambers, and congressional committees. Never forget from where you've come and whom you represent. AVID has sounded the alarm. Wake up, wipe the sleep from your eyes, and let's reclaim our legacy, because today's learners are tomorrow's leaders. Thank you.